Hello, everyone. My name is Simon Gittens. I am a Trade Commissioner with Global Affairs Canada. Global Affairs Canada is part of the federal government, and we have over 160 locations around the world. The purpose of those locations is to help companies such as yours export your products and services internationally. I will start by just giving a little background on Global Affairs Canada, the Trade Commissioner Service, in the fact that we've been around for over 125 years. We have 1,000 trade commissioners based here in Canada and overseas at those 160 locations I mentioned earlier. And what we try and do is to work with companies such as yours to help you export your products and services internationally. We have a series of services that we provide, and I'll go through those. We also have a funding program, which I think you'll find very interesting and well timed given all that's going on. Everybody's interested in getting back into the exporting game, or continuing what you've been doing over the last couple of years. So I'll start with the Can Export SME funding program. It's a funding program to help offset half the cost, up to $50,000, to get your company into a market where you've had little or no business to date. There are some criteria that companies will need to fill out to access the actual application. One, you have to have a presence in Canada, meaning economic value for Canadians, meaning that you're producing a product or service that's developed here in Canada. Two, you have to have less than 500 employees. And finally, you have to have over 100,000 annual in sales, but less than 100 million. So I'm going to assume everybody falls within that bracket, and I will continue on. And what the program does is it allows companies to apply. I should say there is an application process. It is online. It is relatively straightforward. Trade commissioners can help you with the application should you request that assistance. And what you do is you go online, fill out the criteria, the questions that are being asked. Then you will get an email back saying your application has been granted in the sense that you now have access to the form that you have to fill out to submit to see if you are approved. The processing time, it's important to understand this, is 60 business days. So just keep that in mind in your planning, that you have to think a couple months out before you actually execute on any of your strategies, your international strategies. The program covers 50% and up to a maximum of 50,000 for ground transportation, airfare, hotels, meals, and per diems. There's money in there for business consultants. There is money in there for attending conferences, the actual cost to get into a conference. There's money available for IP protection, search engine optimization. It's all on the applicant, and there is an applicant guide attached. When you go online, Can Export SME, you'll see there's an applicant's guide. And that's very crucial because it tells you what are and what are not eligible expenses. So I ask that you take a good look at that when applying and filling out the questions. And a typical application would look like, and I'll just give an example. You want to attend a show in September in Las Vegas, and it's in your sector, whatever that might be. You apply to attend that show. So you can apply for 2 people to travel to Las Vegas, cover up to 50% of the costs to be at that show. And then you plan to do a follow-up trip, let's say a month or 2 later, let's say in late October. So the second phase of your application, phase 1 would be to travel to Las Vegas. Phase 2 would be to travel to, let's say, while you're in Vegas, you meet contacts from Florida and Georgia and Texas. So your second trip would be to follow up to those locations to meet with the people you met in Vegas, a couple months earlier to hopefully close the deal. You will need to tell us about your value-added proposition. What is it that you are either producing, or the service that you have what is unique about it, who are your target clients. We'd like to see that you've done some research into the prospects. And when you combine all of that into the application, it gets submitted to headquarters, Global Affairs headquarters in Ottawa. It is reviewed, and within that 60-day time limit, you will get a reply back saying, let's say you asked for 100,000, you would get a reply back saying you have been granted up to 50,000, and then you can proceed and execute on that application. There is a final report that's requested at the end of once you finish those 2 trips. It's not too onerous. You fill that out, submit it, and once that comes in, the balance of the money owing to you will be repaid by the government. If you have any questions, I believe you'll get my contact information from the show organizer or this event organizer, and please feel free to reach out to me. There is another one. It's called Can Export Innovation. It's slightly different, same online application, but what you do the difference here is this is to introduce you to partners. So what that means is you have some R&D, and you believe that if you team up with a foreign buyer or a foreign developer, within 5 years, if you integrate your technologies, that you will come up with a commercial product or solution within 5 years. Can Export Innovation, which is the one I'm talking about now, will cover the cost to get you in front of one of these foreign developers or potential partners and help you with the negotiations to come up with an agreement. Again, it's online and is fairly straightforward. The services that we offer Canadian companies are divided into 4 sections. The first is preparing to export, and that is just exactly as it sounds. Sitting with a trade commissioner in Canada or speaking on the phone, and understanding the resources that are required, some of the hurdles that you might have to overcome, just the process of working with trade commissioners, both here in Canada and at our offices around the world. As I said, 160 offices, so there's a very, very good chance that wherever you want to be, we have an office. Now, once you get past the preparing to export, the next service we offer is market potential. Is there potential in this particular market for your solution, be it a product or service? And to get that information, what you do is you work with the trade commissioners here in Canada. We have offices in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax. And we also have some satellite offices spread across the country. So there should be a trade commissioner very close to wherever you happen to be located. Reach out to that individual, that trade commissioner, and explain what it is you're doing. And then the Canadian-based trade commissioner will reach out to his or her counterpart in that country of interest. Let's say, for example, it's Mexico. We would reach out to our office in Mexico. We have 3, but we'd reach out to the office in Mexico. We would explain who you are, what your solution is, what your strategy is to get it into the Mexican market. And my colleagues or our colleagues in Mexico would take a look at what you've presented and let you know if your assumptions are actually a viable way of getting into the market. And also offer recommendations on how best to proceed. In a lot of cases, my colleagues are also Canadian, but we also hire what we call locally engaged staff. These are individuals that are screened by the Canadian Embassy in Mexico, hired on. They speak the language, they know the culture, they work on a sectoral basis. So we might have an officer in Mexico just doing automotive solutions, another one just doing ICT solutions, software as a service, enterprise software. We have another one doing life science, and so on. So we'd reach out to those individuals, introduce them to your company, your strategy, get their opinion. So that's the market potential. Is there a need? Is there a distribution path? Are there potential partners, distributors, whatever your strategy is looking to identify? The third service is key contact. So you've prepared to export. We've determined there is market potential. The third is who within that market. And when I say who, what company might make an ideal partner? And one step further, do we know the contact in that company or those companies? This is one of the ones that I believe is most valued by companies here in Canada, being able to get to the decision makers. And that's where the Trade Commissioner Service really, really steps up and can hasten the time to market for Canadian companies. The last service, and it speaks for itself, is problem solving. Unfortunately, when dealing internationally, there are always challenges. I encourage you to take a look at the Can Export SME application or funding application. And I also encourage you, if you can, reach out to a trade commissioner prior to traveling abroad, just to get that support here in Canada, and then again get the additional resources of my colleagues all around the world. With that, I wish you a wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking with you.